Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Amanda with West University Moms, and I'm here with Dr. Brooke Goldner, and she's doing today's Meet a Mom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so let's start off with just some simple questions. You're a mom. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids. I have 2 boys. One is 7 and one is 11.
Okay, nice. I'm a boy mom too. My older, he's almost 7, and the little one's 3.5. Handful, right?
Yeah, there is similar age difference.
Yes.
It's easier every year.
Yeah, good to hear. So tell us about what you do.
So I'm a medical doctor, but I specialize in disease reversal using nutrition. So I'm kind of a weird doctor. I get people off of their medications by changing their diet and their lifestyle. So I've been doing this for about a decade after I actually reversed my own disease. I had lupus from the age of 16. I had kidney failure. I had mini strokes. And I went to medical school even going through all this. So I had chemotherapy. I was injecting myself with blood thinners, and that was my life. And I really thought that that's what it would always be. But 15 years ago, I changed my diet to an extremely anti-inflammatory diet, and the entire disease went away. The symptoms, the labs, everything.
Wow.
To the point that, I was actually told I could never have children. Being a mom was not on the menu for me. I was told, at 16, that with kidney failure and everything else, that just wouldn't be possible, that I wouldn't survive it, or, I would just have miscarriages, the whole thing. But after I'd been healthy for 4 years, I did. I went and I had my first son, Solomon, which was a miracle. And when I was still healthy after that, that's when I realized that what I had done was so important. And so I went back and I really studied the research in cellular biology and how nutrition affects cells to make sure that I really understood exactly why and how it worked. And then I started testing it. And that now, since for the past decade, that's what I do. And I help people with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma, Sjogren's, multiple sclerosis,
Wow.
or more mundane things like diabetes, heart disease. All of these different kinds of diseases respond actually really quickly. So it's actually much more fun. I went from a doctor that kind of prescribed all day long and nobody gets better to actually having my patients heal and not need me anymore, which is much more satisfying. And I get to be a mom, which, even on the hardest day is still such a blessing to me because it was something I thought I could never do.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Good for you. And so what was your diet like, I guess, before? And then what did you discover?
So, well, when I was a kid, I had a pretty standard American diet where I was, I joke around in my book, Goodbye Lupus, that we had a chef. His name was Chef Boyardee. And Chef Boyardee and macaroni and cheese and all those kind of processed foods.
Garbage.
My parents had a pizza franchise, so I ate pizza every day.
Wow.
So Burger King, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then my family became vegetarian when I was 12, but not healthy. So still eating pizza every day. Cheese on everything, eggs every day. I like vegetables and things, but, didn't drink water, my mom always bought Diet Coke.
No.
So, that was just, so not very opposite of a healthy diet growing up. And by the time I was in medical school, it was still pretty much the same. I did my medical training in Pittsburgh, which there's a huge obesity problem there, just like there is here in Texas, where if I ordered a salad, they would have French fries and ranch on top.
Wow.
It's like, well, all right.
Wow.
So, and that was at the hospital. So, the best place to eat unhealthy food to get sick and overweight is hospital food, just in case you haven't tried it. So when I changed my diet, it was actually, I didn't think at the time it was going to heal my disease because I'm a Western medical doctor. I did 3 years of genetic research at Carnegie Mellon. I had never learned anything that told me that diet had anything to do with disease. Right. Which is a great disservice that your doctor didn't get any training in nutrition, yet who do you ask about what you should eat? Your doctor, right? They don't know. Right. They're reading Men's Health just like every other guy. So when I changed my diet, it wasn't with the hopes that I would get my health back. I changed it because I met my husband, Thomas Tadlock. He wanted to marry me even though I was sick. I warned him. I said, listen, I can't have children. I'm going to become disabled. You're going to end up taking care of me. And I'm going to die young. I'll be lucky to make it past my 40s or 50s. And he was in. He said,
you get me all teary.
Yeah, I always do. But he said, I'd rather have a short life with you than a lifetime with anybody else. And we'll just make it the best darn life you could have.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I was like, okay. Cause I mean, I had pushed all my life for the white coat. I never dreamed of a white dress. Like, I can't have kids. I'm not my
Oh,
life. Like, I'm not gonna, it just wasn't part of my plan. You know, I was happy, but I wasn't, you know, thinking about that. So my husband is well known for being, he's an expert in fat loss, metabolism, and fitness. And he at the time was working with MTV, like training like musicians or
mm-hmm.
rock stars and stuff. So I wanted to look like a rock star at my wedding. So I was like, well, babe, what do you think? Because we were also moving to LA. That's where I did my residency.
Okay.
And I said, well, I want to look like a rock star at our wedding. We were eloping in Hawaii, and there's going to be pictures of me in bikini and my little strapless
Right.
dress and stuff. So I asked him to put me on a plan to lose weight. Now I knew I had to be careful because my health, I couldn't, you know, my friends just starved themselves for their weddings. But
Right.
I wanted to do something better. And at the time he had a program where he had people eating lots of vegetables, high omega-3s, lots of water. And then what he did was like free range meat, and people would lose a lot of weight. It was kind of like what paleo is nowadays. Now their diseases didn't go away, but they lost a lot of weight. It worked really well. So, had been vegetarian at that point for like 20 years. So I wasn't interested in adding meat. So we just didn't do the meat part of it. I just did all the vegetables and everything else. And, I started feeling so good so rapidly. I had tons of energy where, you know, I was now an intern. So I was working 30-hour shifts multiple days a week, working over 80 hours a week, you know, just really intense, but I had tons of
Wow.
energy. I had no arthritis anymore. I wasn't getting migraines. I didn't have all of my symptoms anymore. And when I went back for my blood test right before the wedding, it was about 3 months later, not only had I gone from a size 11 to a 3 in like 3 months, but my lupus labs were negative for the first time in my life. And we didn't know what to think. We're like, maybe love created a remission. I don't know. Like, it was just like,
Right.
wow. And so, but they actually, the doctors thought it was a lab error because even in remission, people with lupus have positive labs. I was 28. I'd had positive labs for 12 years. So I went to the wedding, came back,
Oh,
retested.
goosebumps. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it was still negative when I came back, and my
Mhm.
cholesterol, which I was told was genetically high, nothing to do with all the cheese, was now normal. And so we didn't really think about it, which is a weird thing. We're like, whatever I'm doing is working, so I'll just do that. And it wasn't until I had my first son that I realized, wait a minute, people with lupus shouldn't be able to have healthy pregnancies, healthy deliveries, and no sign of lupus. And that's when I finally realized this wasn't just a remission. I had actually reversed my disease. And so we're both scientists. We both went to Carnegie Mellon. We're really into understanding hows and whys. And so that's when we dove into the research and figured out what I'd done. And it's now become our mission to the world is we want everyone to have what we have, which is the chance to grow old with the person you love.
That is absolutely incredible. Wow, I'm stunned. And you wrote a book as well, a best-selling book.
Yes, I have 3 best-selling books now, actually.
Really?
Yes. The very first one was Goodbye Lupus, which is my story, the
Yes.
longer version of what I just told you. And it has the 6 steps to healing with supermarket foods. And I teach my entire nutrition protocol and what to do and why it works. A lot of people are interested in the science. You can read it, but it's a short book. I want it to be, people can read it and make changes. I didn't want it to be like an encyclopedia.
Right.
You know? And people tell me they read it and they can start the next day. And so what was wild was when I published that, you know, I had thought, well, you know, whenever I give a talk or I talk to someone, they go, man, I wish you had a book because I'd love my friend or my aunt or my cousin to know it. So that's why I wrote it. But nobody knew who I was. You know, I was just publishing a book on Amazon. Who's going to know? But when it was up for pre-order, which before we publish, you can like say coming soon. And
Mm-hmm.
I did that for myself because I needed a deadline or I wasn't going to finish it. So I gave myself this deadline. And actually, I had gone online because I wanted to change the deadline because I wasn't ready. And if somebody buys the book, you can't do that. You have to publish. And
Wow.
it was a bestseller. And I was like, who's
Whoa.
buying my book? Nobody knows who I am. So it turned out people were searching for this. And so
Wow.
it immediately was a bestseller before I published it. I had to publish it. I had to finish. And it has been consistently, it has never stopped being a #1 bestseller on Amazon for autoimmune and rheumatoid arthritis, except for a moment. Like when I published my last book, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, that instantly went bestseller first day.
Wow.
And that one was, I take, you know, everyone, if you can read Goodbye Lupus and do what it says, you get disease reversal. It works. It's consistent. It's not one of those like may help some people and other people won't. It
Right.
works. It's very scientific. It's very effective. But some people would read it and still not do it. And that's all the emotional stuff. And my original board certification was psychiatry because what I'd found was instead of doing rheumatology, I decided to do that because I found as a medical student, my patients' recovery rates are faster when they were happy, and they never healed when they were depressed, no matter what their
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis was. And I've always been good at living with chronic illness and still being happy and purposeful and passion filled in spite of that. And I wanted to teach people that because it would give them greater health. But now I use that for motivation. So Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, most of it is, if you're not changing your lifestyle, why? Why do you self-sabotage? It's trauma, anxiety, depression,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And then the last third is dozens and dozens of case studies of different people who've changed, gotten their health back from all these different diseases using the Goodbye Lupus protocol. So rheumatoid arthritis, MS, all of the, so I could list them forever. And so that one, a lot of people told me that was what they needed. So it's everything from the past decade of working with people, what stopped them and how I helped them and what stopped them. And there's like assignments to work on to get yourself motivated, because it's hard. If it was only as easy as eat this, don't eat that, everyone would do it, right? I mean, all of us know we shouldn't eat ice cream in front of the TV. So you're not doing it from a lack of knowledge. You're doing it because it's serving an emotional purpose. And if you don't fix or learn a new coping skill, you'll never give it up. And so that's what that book was really dedicated to. So I'm just on this mission constantly of trying to give everyone everything they need to get their health. And by the way, I mean, I also teach the entire contents of my books online for free. So like this week, all the way up through February 6th, if people go to my website, they can just click on the free classes, and it's 5 hours of classes on everything about the protocol. I don't hold anything back. The entire nutrition protocol, all the case studies, and then they can sign up for live Q&As with me. And I usually spend about 10, 15 hours a month just doing live teaching and supporting people for free, because I just want to help them get better.
That's incredible. Great. Well, we'll link your website for sure, so everyone can check that out. And how do you see your regular clients, or how does that work? Do you have an office?
Yeah, so I do have an office, but it's actually in my home. So this is my home office / studio, because I'm constantly just streaming stuff online and working with people that way. But right now my practice is international, because there's people all over the world who are sick. So it's, I probably spend, there may be only a couple people I see a week who are in my hometown. But in a given day, I'll talk to people in India and Australia and New Zealand and England and Canada and all these places. So I actually stopped having a physical office a few years ago, because for the price of a plane ticket, you could just have a session with me and sit in your house the way we're doing this now. So most people see me exactly how you see me right now. So even if they're in Houston, though, they still see me virtually. But you don't have to worry about traffic. You just sit down and you turn on your computer, and the only thing that's missing is the hug. So, that I have to just, give that energetically.
The virtual hug, yes. That is really amazing. You have done so much incredible work. I'm stunned. So I want to know, how, as a mom, how do you juggle all of this?
Well, it's what I teach all the people I work with, right? Is one, I prioritize my self-care. One thing that I've learned working with moms, because, the majority of people with autoimmune are women, and often women in their 40s to 60s, and a lot of times younger. And a lot of times mom have this martyr syndrome. We learned it from our moms and our grandmas and all that stuff, right? Is that you take care of your family, and then you clean your house, and then you go to bed. There's no me time. And if you're thinking about me time, then that's selfish in some way and bad. But the problem is, if you don't take care of yourself, then you will not be able to keep doing what you're doing. And that's when they come to me. Nobody wants to eat plants all day for fun. They do it because there's no choice anymore. They're not functional anymore. Fine, I'll eat my vegetables, doc, but so one of the parts of their recovery has to be self-care. So I've always prioritized my self-care. I think that's one of the gifts of growing up sick, was if I didn't get enough sleep, or if the stress got too high, I wouldn't be able to go to class. I wouldn't be able to function because I'd be in too much pain. So I was forced to learn this. Most people don't learn it until they're sick. So, so I do. I prioritize my self-care, make sure I get enough sleep. I make sure I eat super healthy. So every day, the whole family, my kids, my husband, we all have our green smoothies for breakfast. And so that powers me up right from the beginning. And then every night I have my mama time. So after the kids go to bed, I have a nice soaking tub, and I fill it up with the Epsom salts and essential oils, and I light my candles and just leave me alone. And that's my time. I'll usually spend like an hour a night in there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
That's great.
And if there's dishes in the sink and it's time for my bath, I don't care, because the dishes will not change my ability to function and do my job, but my not having my me time will. And I told this to a mom once. We had a late session because it was the only time she could get in to see me. And I said, listen, it's late. So there's actually dishes in the sink, and I'm pretty sure there's some sauce stuck to my table from my baby, but I'm just going to go take a bath and go to bed. And she goes, whoa, 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 whoa. You're going to leave the sauce on the table? I said, yeah. She goes, you are my hero.
I love it. I love it.
To. The way we can be excellent, if you are drained and tired and irritable, how good are you doing at being a mom? So, so I do that. I schedule my day. I see patients during the day. As soon as I'm done with the last person, that's when my kids walk in from the bus stop. It's right into dinner, guitar lessons, singing lessons, right? It's like this manic whirlwind up until they go to bed. And then that's my time where I take my bath, I read a book, I hang out with my husband, and, then work's done for the day.
Perfect. I love it. I know self-care and really scheduling time for yourself is so important. It's something I know I learned almost the hard way, because you don't think that you're allowed to take that time. And I would be the one, okay, I don't want to go to sleep with the dirty dishes. I'm going to feel guilty and shameful. But it is so important to put yourself first. So I'm glad.
I always say, if you think you're too busy for self-care, you're eventually going to be too sick to be busy.
Right.
So we have to. And I don't think there's anyone out there grading us like, ooh, dishes in the sink, B-.
Right. I know. Yeah, there's no one.
It's all on us. It's all on us. I remember I felt some guilt about getting a housekeeper when I was a resident.
Yes.
And I remember talking to my grandmother at the time and telling her, you did everything, because she's trying to get a housekeeper. And I said, it's a lot of money. And, you did everything. You cooked, you cleaned, you worked. And she said to me, it felt like I was just being anointed, like permission. She said, I did it all. And you know what? It was too much. And I shouldn't have. And you should get the help. And it was just like, I don't have to live up to that. It's okay.
Right. Yes. That's great. That's perfect that she said that. Yeah, because you feel like, you've seen your parents do it or grandparents, but things have changed so much, and we really do need the help.
And I teach people too. I say, listen, our kids learn from us how to be a person, right? They learn about what relationships are or how they're supposed to go. And they learn about self-care. They learn about exercise. They learn about healthy eating. And it's not going to come from what we say. It comes from what they see. So if you're not willing to do self-care for yourself, look at your children and say, do I want to raise them to think that they're not allowed to do what's good for them, or that they only, all that matters is what they do for others? Do I want them to grow up thinking that way? And if you don't, then alleviate the guilt that way, that you're doing it to train them.
I love that. That's a great way to look at it. So what are your goals for the future?
Oh, goodness. Goals for the future. I mean, really what I'm doing now is I'm just working hard to get my message out there in a bigger and bigger way. As someone who spent so much of my life sick, and having the information and knowledge that I do on health and disease reversal is just this constant urgent mission for me to continue to share and teach. I mean, it's why I teach my classes for free. And every time I go online with these classes, 5,000 people from around the world have come to these classes. Wow. Right? It's amazing. It's amazing. But it's still, that's 5,000. But there's millions of people who are sick. Yeah. So I feel this constant drive and pressure, this almost like hypomanic push to do this. So right now what I'm trying to do is actually bring it more to an even federal level. The research that supports what I do as a physician has been available to the public for almost 50 years. Mm-hmm. And yet the FDA has done nothing. The USDA still recommends the same guidelines. They're still funneling excess milk into the school system, even though dairy is the most inflammatory product there is, and it's making our kids sick. So they have this information and they're not sharing it with the public, and it's causing this health crisis that we have. Oh,
and it's, I know.
It drives me crazy. Yeah.
I heard you did a post or something that went viral.
Yes.
What was that? Tell us about that.
So I actually gave testimony to the USDA Dietary Guidelines Committee last week. Yeah, so this is the first time they have allowed for public testimony. It used to be that the dietary guidelines, okay, get this will just, the Dietary Guidelines Committee only had people from industry on it. like agricultural industries, like the meat industry, the dairy industry, the sugar industry, the beer industry, all that. They were on the council, and then they would make the decisions over what to recommend for our food pyramid.
Wow.
And it's like, and so it was closed door and only industry on the committee and only industry testifying. So it makes sense why our food guidelines don't work for the public, right? So there's an organization called PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and they sued the Dietary Guidelines Committee. They sued the USDA to, number one, make it open to the public so we could see what was going on, right?
Yes.
And two, to allow public testimony, and it went through. So this is the first time now that we can come and testify. So when I was there, I was still starting, like the beer industry guy stood up and said 1 beer a day for men, 2 beers a day, or 2 beers a day for women. Oh, no, 2 beers a day for men, 1 beer a day for women. Like, part of a healthy diet. Sugar stood up and said, just make sure you brush your teeth. It's fine. I'm sitting there, I'm a physician, like, all the industries were there, but I got to speak. And, everybody there had you get 3 minutes. That's all you get, 3 minutes. And it was like 3 hours of this, every 3 minutes, then the buzzer goes and the next person. But people were kind of reading their talking points, and I just decided to speak from my heart, and it really resonated. I spoke from my heart about what my mission was and how I was desperately trying to save lives, and how they were the ones that were going to make the difference, because when people go online, they don't know who to trust. Well, this doctor says to eat more vegetables and to eliminate dairy and minimize all this, but then this other guy says the carnivore diet made us smarter, and who do you trust, right? So, but if the Dietary Guidelines Committee say, well, actually give your kids water instead, and eliminate or limit these foods and all this stuff, if they could actually share the truth, which we know from the World Health Organization and years of research, that is what's going to save lives. That people like me will never catch up unless the USDA is willing to take a stand. So, I just spoke from my heart, and it just resonated. So we posted it, and within a few minutes, it was like thousands of shares. Whoa! So it's been, on especially on Facebook, where people can just share. Last I checked, it was over 80,000 people had seen it, and they're still sharing it. So that kind of shocked me. I just, I was just speaking from my heart. But what's really cool is people are sharing it who don't even believe what I'm saying. They're like, I don't even eat this way, but look at this. It's cool. And I think people could just feel my heart in this. So I'm excited by that. I don't know how much of a change it will make for the committee hearing that testimony. There were thankfully a bunch of other doctors as well from Houston who stood up and said the same thing, that we need to tell people that meat and dairy is making them sick and their kids sick. We need to tell them the truth about what the research is saying. We can't, so that was good. There was probably about 15 of us that went to speak to this. So that was awesome. But all the industries were there and all of that. So I think change on the federal level will take time, but I think change will happen because of public pressure. So it's not the 20 people on the board, but maybe the 80,000. Right. If that keeps building and people saying, hey, what was she talking about? And what was she telling us? That I think that's when change is going to happen. It's kind of like with cigarettes. We knew in the 1930s that cigarettes caused lung cancer. And yet, even in the 50s, doctors are recommending cigarettes. Everyone's having cigarettes. The government knew about the research about cancer, but the Surgeon General warning didn't come out till the late 70s?
It's fine. My mom will say that the doctor, when she was pregnant with me, prescribed no more than 4 cigarettes a day. Something like that.
But the information is out there, and even the doctors didn't know. So even now, this is my life, so I know this research, but most doctors don't. I do train doctors as well, but we are trained not to even look at nutrition research. That's why they tell us in medical school, it has nothing to do with you. You just study these medicines, you prescribe these medicines. So they don't even know it. And even worse, some docs will say, oh no, food has nothing to do with your illness. Which I think that's malpractice. If you don't know, say, I don't know. But it's like that. In the 50s, I think there were many docs who they smoked themselves, so they don't want to know. And it took way too long, and so many lives were lost because the government wasn't willing to stand up and say, by the way, this is killing you. So we need to do that as a people. And that's why I teach for free and I do all this stuff, because then they know I have nothing, I'm not getting paid by Big Kale. there is no big kale. You know what I mean? Like, this is just me
Too
trying
bad.
to.
Yeah, there's not big kale.
Right. And the cool thing is, you know, I don't have to defend myself at all, because every day, like on Instagram or Facebook, if there's someone who says in the comment, oh, I don't believe this, then there's 20 other comments behind it. Nope, cured my lupus following this plan. Oh, my RA is gone. Da, da, da. Look at my picture. Someone posted their labs yesterday.
Wow.
Look. Yeah. So it's like, it's this movement that you can't argue with. So it's just, and they're aware of it. So it was just my moment to try to bring that to the public, and to bring it to them, to put it in their lives, be like, this isn't about,
I love it.
Dietary. This is about, you are responsible for people's health, and I'm not going to be able to save lives until you start doing your job. So yeah,
That's very courageous of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's important, and I think we have to continuously speak truth to power, and that's what's going to make a difference. You know, I never would have had lupus to begin with if the information that we knew back then had been out.
Right.
But
so if someone is traditionally or I don't know, healthy, not sick, do you still obviously recommend this way of eating?
Well, listen, if you're healthy, then you don't have to be as careful as someone who's sick, right? It's kind of like, if your ankle doesn't hurt, you can run, jog, and jump, and you're fine. But if you've got a broken ankle, you got to ice and elevate that thing, right? You're not going to be able to run for a while. So when people are sick, I'm extremely strict with their diet, because that's what gets them better. When they're healthy, they can have a little bit of unhealthy food here and there, and they're going to be fine. The problem is, for most people, they're not getting the right nutrients at all. So when they do get sick, they can't heal. And that's what we see happening, is that the human body is designed to heal. You know, it's kind of like if you got a flu at 8, you wouldn't still have the flu today. Like, oh man, I remember when I was 8, I went out with wet hair, and just, isn't that right? But that's what it's like to have lupus or diabetes or high blood pressure. It actually should reverse itself very quickly, but people don't eat the right foods to give their cells the tools they need to fix themselves. Right. So I do recommend that even when people are not symptomatic yet, that they do things like increase their vegetable intake. So one of the things my husband and I do is we teach them how to make these green smoothies, where it's a ton of greens, little bit of fruit, just enough fruit to make it taste good, and it actually does. And you put flax or chia seeds in there for your omega-3s, so it gives you a fast metabolism and allows your immune system to get rid of inflammation. And what we found is, if we tell people to just drink that blender by the end of the day, even if you still eat whatever you're eating, their health improves, because it's what you're missing that determines your health even more than some of the bad stuff you eat. So we actually, we have a website, smoothieshred.com, where we give all the recipes away, and then people—
I'm going to go to it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So when you just add that, you go, okay, I've gotten a ton of fresh vegetables in, I got my omega-3s, you get super hydrated, and then you know, at least I've gotten my nourishment for the day. So if I do go to McDonald's, at least there's less damage, and whatever damage was done, I have the ability to heal it. So eventually everybody gets sick if they don't eat the right foods. It also makes you resistant to the flu, you know, to colds. I mean, if somebody, my 10-year, no, he's 11 now. Oh my God, he's gonna be 11 in 2 days. My 11-year-old last had a cold when he was 2. When I went to medical school, that was not a normal thing.
Unbelievable. They're always sick. Yeah. I mean, mine aren't, thank God, but yeah, no,
they don't get sick. And if we do have a virus come through, like I'll get a cold every now and then, it's 24 hours.
Right.
When I had lupus, it could be 2 weeks. One time I had a sinus infection that lasted like 4 months.
Oh, you poor thing.
So if you're not able to heal quickly from things, or if you have aches and pains, or if you just want to be stronger and fitter, have a faster metabolism, then the smoothies are a great way to kind of add what you're missing without a scary change in your diet. But yes, if you want optimal health, you do want to eliminate foods that make you sick. And, you know, people, when I come to my classes of, you know, listeners come to that, I tell people it's stepwise, you know, add what you're missing, and then try to, you know, work to eliminate that. Maybe have that big salad for lunch instead of a side salad. Like work on looking at food more as a way of nourishing yourself, and then you'll feel better, and you'll be so much better at doing all the other stuff you want to do because you feel good.
I have a question about the fad diets, like keto, where you're eating, you know, a lot of fat, dairy, cheese.
Yeah, it is an extremely unhealthy diet. And it's actually, you know, it was just, U.S. News and World Reports actually just rated it the unhealthiest diet of the moment.
Wow.
So it's a disease-causing diet. So on the one hand, it causes rapid weight loss, and people love that, right? But there's lots of ways to lose weight that's unhealthy. I did 2 years of chemotherapy when I had kidney failure. Also great for weight loss.
Oh.
Not,
Yeah.
I don't recommend it, but you know, people look at that and go, wow, I'm losing weight so fast. And a
Right.
lot of them feel better initially too, but they feel better because they're eliminating some of the other stuff that was making them sick. So if there's someone who ate a lot of processed food, stuff like
Right.
that, and now they're eating a cleaner diet, they can initially feel better. But when you pull out and look long-term at what's happening, they are creating, number one, they're rapidly increasing their cancer risk because eating meat does increase your cancer risk. Processed meats like sausage and hot dogs and bacon, those are actually class A carcinogens, just like cigarettes. Okay,
Wow.
so, and that's World Health Organization. I'm not bringing this out of nowhere.
Mhm.
This is ranked internationally that way. Not yet labeled in our country, but you know, so you're drastically increasing your cancer risk. You're going to increase your risk of cardiovascular disease and heart attack and stroke. So, you know, it's kind of funny because I think all of us would have had our grandmother say, oh yeah, you don't want to just eat meat. You got to eat vegetables and fruit,
Yeah.
right? But now all of a sudden it's like, no, live on bacon and butter. You'll be fine.
Right.
Like,
Fruit's
you
the
don't have
bad
to be a
guy.
doctor. You don't have to be a doctor to know that that might not be the best plan. Although there's doctors who are prescribing that because their
Yeah.
patients are losing weight, and it's like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
I mean, even it's kind of like Atkins 2.0. When I was young, it was Atkins. Atkins died of a heart attack. When they did the autopsy, he had a heart attack.
Oh my
So, but yet
Right.
that didn't, you know, why aren't we talking about that?
I
So,
know. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
you can do a plant-based keto
Right.
that will actually be health promoting. So if you're eating tons of vegetables, because those don't have sugars in them, right? So you do lots of vegetables instead of fruit, which vegetables actually are better for you than fruit because they have way more nutrients. So you could do
Mhm.
vegetables and cut the fruit out, and you can do plant fats, flax, chia, and avocados. And
Yes.
doing that, you'll lose weight, but you'll also be nourished because all vitamins and minerals come from plants. So to starve yourself of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all the phytonutrients that help
Right.
you fight cancer and fight disease, and just put yourself on a disease-causing diet is devastating in the long term. So yeah, that's one that scares me.
Well,
And
thank
I've
you.
actually,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I've, I've seen a lot of people
my
come to
mind on
me
that.
who actually went into kidney failure on that diet.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's really scary.
Yes,
I'm
it is.
really excited about your smoothie website too. I'm definitely going to go to that because I used to make smoothies and I stopped, but I want to get into it and I want to. I mean, my kids, I'm sure, would love. They're decent with their fruits and vegetables, but if they had a smoothie that was like chock full of everything,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh yeah.
on that note, do you have any other tips for parents? Just I guess kids nutrition.
Yeah, sure. We need a few more hours, but no,
Right.
in general, you know, I think one, it should be a topic people talk about. You know, it's families don't seem to talk about nutrition much. Mine, like my kids could get on stage for me soon and just do
Right.
my whole talk for me. Um, but, but I think it's important to talk about. Teach kids that this is where your vitamins and your minerals come from. This is
Right.
where your health come from. That we don't just eat what feels good in the moment, but we eat what's good for our bodies. And what I love to see families do, I mean, I have now patients as young as 2 years old with autoimmune disease and they're eating, you know, nuggets and fries, right? So I have to, poor kids addicted to junk, and now they're in withdrawal and freaking out because they're trying to eat veggies. It's a nightmare. But what I
Yeah.
would tell the families is, listen, we need to rewire them. And you can do that before they get sick, which is better. Is one, you make sure that there's nutrition every day. So the easiest way is if you have smoothies in the morning, then even if they eat anything else during the day, you know they got their vitamins and minerals in. It's easy. Otherwise, just make sure there's something that's a vegetable in every meal, like a salad with dinner, right? A piece of
Right.
fruit with lunch, like something that's living with every meal. And when you're
Yes.
planning events, make them around activities, not around food. So instead of it being family night to go get pizza, how about family night to go to, like the Houston Museum has these awesome family nights where you can go walk
Yes.
around together and do stuff. Do family night going to a place where you can do bounce houses or something like that.
Right.
Or, you know, make family night activities, make rewards activities. Like if you
Mhm.
get straight A's, not we're going to go to your favorite restaurant, but instead we're going to go to your favorite place to go have fun. But if we can start doing, and I tell couples to do
That's
that
so
too,
smart.
don't go on a date to a restaurant with a basket of bread between you with butter.
And
Go on
why?
a
Yeah.
date,
And just
go do it. Like
go
my
do
husband and I love,
something.
yeah, we love going to concerts. We love going to
Oh yeah.
comedy shows. Like make your fun come from life and your
Right.
relationships instead of from food, and
I
you're going
love
to be much
that.
healthier overall. And then you give your kids habits that will help them through the rest of their lives.
I love that. Thank you so much. This has been incredible. I'm so inspired. I really appreciate everything in your time. I'm going to have everything linked in the article so that everyone can find you on your website, through social media, and check out some of your videos.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me too. It's just so cool. I'm now officially a Houston mom. I've been here 2 years, but it's exciting for me
Don't
to
you
get
love it?
to know this community more.
Yeah.
I love Houston. It's my favorite place I've ever lived so far. It's
Me too. I'm a transplant, and I just say, I mean, Houston is so welcoming, and the the cost of living and the quality of life is, you can't beat it.
1,000%. And kids say sir and ma'am, and I've never
I
seen
know.
not my kids. They refuse.
Right.
Where'd you transplant from?
I'm from California,
Where?
Los Angeles and San
Okay.
Francisco. I still have family there, and I like to visit, but it's so crazy expensive and crowded, and
Yeah.
so
Oh, I think quality of living is better here. I'm originally from New York, lived in Pennsylvania, and then
yeah.
I was trained at UCLA Harbor, and I lived in Huntington Beach, which was
Wow.
lovely. I mean, it's spring all year round. I mean,
It's
it's
beautiful, right?
nice. But quality of life, I mean, we've got everything here. Everything I ever had in
Yeah.
the big city, all the museums and the
Right.
venues, international airport,
Yeah.
and the winter's almost nothing, and the
Mm-hmm.
people are amazing. Like, I
So
know my
friendly.
neighbors here. I didn't know my neighbors in California.
Right. And sometimes you don't even say hi to your neighbor, like even the next door neighbor in these other places. And here it's like you're walking, you're like saying hi to everyone and talking and chit-chatting with people in line, and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So
I'm fully into Houston. I'm gonna be saying y'all any minute now.
nice. Nice. Well, thank you so much. And yeah.